Hello, everyone. It's Wednesday, June 25th, and time for another edition with Wednesday with Walton. It's available to you, of course, here via video form at thecardinalnation.com and in audio form at the Scoops Sports Network and all your favorite podcast apps. As promised last week, Kareem Haq is back with me for the second episode, filling in for Kyle Reese, who's will be back next time around. And if you don't know about Kareem, make sure you follow him on X slash formerly Twitter at Kareem SSN, like Social Security number. And then, of course, his great work on the Birds on the Farm podcast and the at cardinalsprospects.com, among others. Welcome, Kareem.
Hey Brian, it's good to be back on second episode in consecutive weeks. Hopefully this isn't my last time being on this show. I'd love to be on when Kyle's back. But yeah, it's been fun to hop on with you, and we're gonna be talking about the draft today, something that I'm very passionate about, and yeah, really looking
Yeah.
forward to our conversation.
Well, so let's get right into it. First of all, kind of let's set the stage. The Cardinals participated, as all the MLB teams, in the draft lottery that was held back in December. And so instead of the reverse order of the standings setting the draft, which incented some teams maybe to lose some games later on, everybody got a weighted number of balls to be picked in the lottery, so to speak. Cardinals pick fifth overall, which is obviously an excellent spot, two spots better even than last year when J.J. Weatherholt fell to them. They also have the fifth pick in competitive round B, so that's number 55. Then they have pick number 73 and pick number 89. So they have four picks in the top 90 in this draft, and they have a pool of over 14.2 million, of which probably at least half of that is going to go to this first rounder, fifth pick overall. As you look at this draft, Kareem, how do you think it is? I've heard some people say that it's not as heavy in terms of top prospects as other drafts. Kind of what's your view of this draft class kind of overall?
Yeah, at least at the top, I would say it's weaker. I think the demographics that are strong in this class, I would say the high school shortstops and college pitchers, but there isn't really too many high-end college bats. In comparison to last year, we had a J.J. Weatherholt that the Cardinals picked, but Travis Bazzana, Jack Caglione, Charlie Condon, Braden Montgomery, there were a lot of players that went in the top 10 to 15 picks that were seen as uh, very high quality college bats. This year, it's different. The demographics that are strong are, I wouldn't say the most coveted demographics usually when we talk about the draft. So in that sense, I think it is a little bit weaker up top when you don't have the super high end college bats. But at the same time, I think it's a decent class overall in terms of not just the top of the draft, but as a whole. I think there's great value to be had in the second to third round range where the Cardinals will be making three selections. So I think that's nice. And it feels like recently the Cardinals haven't picked a ton in that second round. So being able to not only have that second round pick, but the comp B pick as well, and the third round. I mean, the Cardinals will be picking four times on day one of the draft, which is going to be exciting and
That's
beyond.
exceptional. That's
Yeah,
exceptional. And if I could interrupt for just a minute, just to make sure folks understand what Kareem was referring to was that the Cardinals lost their second round draft pick in each of the last 2 years. The first year for the signing of free agent Wilson Contreras, and the second for the free agent signing of Sonny Gray. So the Cardinals, while they had a great first rounder last year, they had to wait until the third round for their second pick. So this year around, again, they're going to have this wealth of early picks. And do you think that they'll try to sort of spread the wealth, meaning maybe don't take a top guy first and save some of that money to get guys that might be harder to sign below, or do you think they're going to go with the best athlete available and let the chips fall where they may?
I think it'll be some combination of the two. I don't think they're going to take it as an opportunity to just pick a much lesser of a player and saving money because you are picking inside the top five. You want to get a high end talent at that pick, but you could still get your best or second best player on the board and save some money in this class, I would think, with that first pick. And I think that will certainly come in handy for your next couple selections where the Cardinals could, go after a high school player that commands a bit more money over slot bonus. So, yeah, I think beyond just looking forward to who they're picking with that fifth overall selection, I'm really curious to see how they handle the bonus pool money in this draft, and I think that's something that I'm going to be watching closely as the Cardinals are making their selections on day one.
And again, just to add a point of background, the signing bonus pool is not linear in any way. So I mean, last year, they had that seventh pick overall, excuse me, and that pick was worth a little bit under 7 million. But then they dropped down to the third round, and that pick was less than 1 million. So the amount of money and the amount of focus on the first pick is extremely high. Last year it was roughly 70% of their draft pool went, just to that Weatherholt pick. So I'm with you, Kareem, in saying the Cardinals, can't underplay this first pick. They're going to really need to go for the guy that they think, as you said, can be a difference maker for them. Now, do you think they'll have the patience to potentially go with a high school player, knowing that maturation process takes longer, or do you think they'll go the college route? And I know you're going to say it's going to depend on who's on the board, but the Cardinals traditionally taking a polished college arm from a Power Five school is a Cardinal-ish pick.
Yeah, I think the two most Cardinals-y picks at the top of the draft, assuming that they are available at that 5 spot, LSU left-hand pitcher Kade Anderson. I think he probably fits their model to a T. What you're looking for, big time college performer in the SEC for LSU. I mean, he just pitched a complete game shutout in the College World Series finals. You talk about a big game pitcher, someone that performed when the lights were shining on him, has the stuff, but more importantly, is someone that commands the zone very well on all of his pitches. It's not just like this is someone that has a good feel for a fastball. There's a bunch of secondaries in there to complement it. A slider that he worked in this year, and last year he hardly even threw a slider. He reworked that pitch into more of a two-plane shape in the mid-80s, and it worked well this year. He still has a hammer of a curveball. He's someone that spins the ball well. So, I mean, I think Kade Anderson is someone that catches my eye as a player that I think the Cardinals scouting staff would fall in love with. And, assuming he's available at that, 5 spot,
And
I
so
think.
let's talk about that for a second. I mean, he's talking about Kade Anderson, a lefty from LSU. I mean, I've seen him even potentially linked to being number one overall. What do you think the chances are that Anderson's going to be around when the Cardinals pick at 5?
After that College World Series performance, it definitely got tougher to see him falling to that 5 spot. But at the same time, I could still see a Jamie Arnold or, Liam Doyle as someone that's been connected to the Angels who picked second. I think the draft could still shake up to the point where, a Kade Anderson could fall to that 5 spot where the Cardinals select. But yeah, I don't know if it's likely at this point, but I still think that there's a decent enough shot that something like that could happen.
Now, it's interesting. You mentioned Liam Doyle, Jamie Arnold, Liam Doyle from Tennessee and Jamie Arnold from Florida State. Not only are those guys from from the SEC, but they're all left-handers. It's kind of an unusual situation where arguably the top three pitchers available in the draft, are all lefties.
Yeah, it's something fascinating about this class, and I think all three of those lefties stack up. I had them ranked 1, 2, 3 on my college, you know, my top college pitchers in this year's class. So
But you had Doyle ahead of Anderson. Tell us about Liam Doyle. Why did you like him even better than Kade Anderson?
I think Doyle has the best fastball in this whole class, and I think when we're looking at trans how it's going to translate to the next level, I think fastball quality is something that's very important. You know, to evaluate at this point, and I think Liam Doyle has the best fastball in the whole class, and I think it's a better fastball than a Kade Anderson and Jamie Arnold. There are some questions about, he's got a very fastball. He relies on his fastball a whole lot, and
Yep.
there are some questions about how that will translate over. Because the velocity fluctuations for him this year at the start of the season, especially they were no mid to high 90s in the first couple innings, but as the game would progress, his velocity would tick down. But as the season went on, we saw him feel more. He showed more feel for his secondary pitches, which I'm actually more bullish on than most people seem to be. I think his splitter is a plus plus pitch already. I think that the cutter took a major step up as the year went on, and I think he's being seen as just all stuff, no pitchability. And I think as the year progressed for him, I think we saw more pitchability in there. And I still think he has the highest potential out of all of these arms when we're talking about a guy that has a fastball as quality as his, which, gives me the slight, edge up. But they're three lefties, but they all have very different profiles.
Yeah, and we've seen in recent years the Cardinals put more focus on a strikeout guy. Look at Quinn Matthews, for example, led the minor leagues in strikeouts last year, versus the pitch to contact guys. And it sounds like Liam Doyle is a guy that could rack up a lot of strikeouts in the minor leagues on his way up.
Yeah, I think the strikeout potential is certainly there. I think he ranked second in strikeouts in Division One baseball. Kade Anderson was actually one. So, Anderson, plenty of swing and miss with his game too. I just don't think the stuff is quite as dominant, and I don't think translating to that next step up. I think it's a hair down from a Liam Doyle, but he does have some of the best strike throwing in this class. I mean, all of his pitches rank high in terms of competitive locations. So, yeah, I mean, I had Anderson as my number one guy for a while. I think I went back and forth between him and Liam Doyle, but ultimately, I just think Doyle's high end stuff is. I think there's a little bit more to dream on there with him potentially getting to a front end kind of arm, whereas Anderson I see more as that mid rotation kind of piece, but a very stable one. So it depends what kind of skill set you're aiming for. But yeah, I think between these three arms, even at Jamie Arnold, who I think we can talk about more now.
Yeah, let's talk about Arnold because he's a lefty from Florida State, and he's a guy that I've seen at least most linked to the Cardinals. Seems to be most frequently linked to the Cardinals. But of course, that depends on what the Nationals, Angels, Mariners, and Rockies do before the Cardinals pick at number 5.
Yeah, heading into this season, Arnold was the top ranked college pitcher in the class. Uh, I don't think he's lost. I don't think his stock is trended down too much, more so than Liam Doyle and Kade Anderson had really successful seasons in the SEC and boosted their stock into that top first round consideration. But Arnold, out of all of these guys, I think Arnold's sweeper might be the best individual pitch. It's in the mid 80s, gets 12 inches of glove side movement, and from his low sidearm tongue twister right there. Low sidearm slot. I think it's very difficult for hitters to square that pitch up. And this year 46% whiff rate overall with very limited damage against as well. So I think it's performed exceptionally both against lefties and righties. He added a kick change this year, which
What's a kick change? What's a kick change?
It's a new kind of changeup that got popularized over the past calendar year where uh it, it's a grip where it's a spike grip. Think of like a knuckle curve, but more of a changeup kind of grip. And it's used to kill more induced vertical break on the pitch, so more downward movement. And his kick change this year it had negative 4.5 inches of induced vertical break, which I mean that's almost curveball level depth. Just trying to picture it in your mind. It's even from that slot, it's ridiculous. But as you would think, he struggles to command it. It's a sub 20% zone rate.
But if it's a new pitch, maybe that's more understandable.
Yeah, but I mean, he's a low slot lefty a lot of those low slot lefties struggle with, locating changeups. So you're right with the fact that it is a new pitch, and hopefully, um, in pro ball, the feel for it can be improved, and he can throw it in the zone more consistently. But it's still sub 20% is like very bad.
Yeah,
Uh,
obviously that needs work.
but yeah,
When I think of a low slot lefty, and it may not be a fair comparison. Maybe you can give me another one, but I think of Cooper Jerpy.
Yeah, Cooper Jerpy, and I think the Cardinals they love their low slot lefties, not just a Cooper Jerpy, but think of a Bryson Motts as well, and they love those pitchers with flat approach angles, and Arnold fits that mold to a T as well. But about his fastball this year, the results on the pitch weren't quite as good as what they have been in the past. There's nothing from a shape standpoint that is too much different from last year, but I think it's notable when his fastball isn't performing as well this year. And when that's something that I weigh a ton, I think that if Arnold's fastball was performing a little bit better, I think he might be the number one guy in terms of college pitchers. But it this year, the results on that offering took a step down, and they don't match up with a Liam Doyle or a Cade Anderson or even a Gage Wood, right-handed pitcher Arkansas. So
So we got these three lefties, and obviously, they're Cardinals pick fifth. Who are some of the other guys that might be in the top five? I guess is the implication maybe that if one of these three are available, the Cardinals would go for them.
I think the Cardinals will be either picking a college pitcher or a high school bat. So going back to the start of the episode, those are the two clear strengths of this year's class. And I think the Cardinals will end up picking from one of those two demographics.
But
And
Ethan Holliday, I mean, everybody knows about Ethan Holliday, right? I mean, the name's pretty familiar to folks.
yeah,
Shortstop from Oklahoma, high school shortstop. He's probably not going to be around fifth, right? Holliday.
I think the floor with Holliday seems to be that fourth overall pick for the Rockies. There's a lot of buzz around his name at that pick. But I mean, if he did slip to five for whatever reason, I think the Cardinals would pull the trigger. I think it's a very power driven profile with an Ethan Holiday. The swing, it's built for loft. The top end exit velocities have already gotten up in the 110s, which, for his age, that's very impressive. Very patient approach at the plate. He's someone that's going to draw his walks, but I think sometimes it can be a little bit of an overly passive approach. But either way, this is someone that's going to be drawing walks. I think he has a shot to stick at the shortstop position, but a lot of scouts believe he's going to move off to either a third base or a corner outfield. I think the biggest thing that concerns me about an Ethan Holiday is the performance against quality competition when he went up in the circuit. Uh, it's an overall whiff rate on fastballs north of 91 miles an hour. It's an over 50% whiff rate on fastballs 91 plus, which is very high. Uh, would like to see that number down for sure, but uh, it seems like scouts think that once he gets over to pro ball, that's something that they can work on and fix. But uh, that's an alarmingly high fastball whiff rate, and when you pair that with the kind of swing that he has, which is more so geared for lofting the ball, it's a steeper swing. So I think once he gets over to pro ball, there could be some swing and miss pitchers throwing fastballs at the top of the zone, which scares me a little bit. I don't know if Ethan Holiday is the player that I would want to see the Cardinals go after, even if he slips to five. But regardless, I do think that the Cardinals would pull the trigger. It seems like uh,
Not unlike Weatherholt last year, right? We didn't. If you and I would have had this discussion 12 months ago, we would have said, well, Weatherholt's not going to probably drop the Cardinals at seven. He's a potential number one pick, but if he's available, they're certainly going to take him, right?
yeah, I think it's one of those situations as well. Whereas Ethan Holiday, he's the number one ranked draft prospect by both Baseball America and MLB Pipeline. So yeah, if he was to fall to five, The Cardinals don't have the luxury of picking in the top five too often. So if you think this is the top player in the class, you should pull the trigger,
Like
right?
once in a lifetime almost, it seems like. But yeah, it's very very unusual, an opportunity for them to take advantage of it. Um,
Yeah.
there's another high school shortstop, Eli Willits, also from Oklahoma. Is he another guy that you think might be in that mix?
Yeah, I think he's another player that the Cardinals will certainly have their eyes on. I think he's the safest, most well-rounded high school shortstop in this year's class. I think it's plus bat to ball skills. He's a switch hitter. There are some questions about his right side working out at the next level, but his left-handed swing is very smooth. I think that this is someone that has bat to ball skills. He's someone that's more so gap to gap. There isn't a ton of impact in there right now, but this is someone that's still just 17 years old. He won't turn 18 until December, which makes him one of the younger players in the class.
And that's a
Uh,
plus.
yeah, and when we're talking about someone that I think he's 6'1", still he's got some more weight to pack in his frame, I think. So there could be more impact potential in there once he gets over to pro ball, but just in the present, he hasn't shown a ton of power, which you know, luckily he's someone that I think should stick up the middle, whether it be shortstop or center field. He has that kind of athleticism, uh, but the
And
power
By the
potential.
way, Kareem's talking about Eli Willits from Oklahoma high schooler. Go ahead.
Yeah, but the power potential, there needs to be a little bit more dreaming in there for him to hit his ultimate ceiling. We're betting more so on the bat to ball skills, more of a line drive approach, and defense at either shortstop or center field.
So we talked about about five players so far. Who are several others that you think might be possible that could end up with the Cardinals at the fifth overall pick?
Yeah, I think one name that I'm circling is shortstop JoJo Parker. He's another prep shortstop. I think he has the best hit tool in the class. It's a very smooth swing, much like Eli Willits from the left side, and he uses the whole field. I think there's more present impact in there as opposed to an Eli Willits. JoJo Parker, he not only ranked near the top when it was in terms of zone contact rate in the circuit, but his hard hit rates were right up there as well. So we're talking about someone that not only has elite bat to ball skills, he only swung and missed on one fastball in the whole summer showcase circuit last year, which is very impressive. Uh, so I think there's a lot to dream on when we're talking about an offensive skill set with a JoJo Parker. Very solid approach as well. But what stands out the most is the bat to ball skills. I think that he has the best bat to ball skills among all high school players in this year's class. And I think there's just enough impact in there. He's more filled out than an Eli Willett. So maybe there's not more impact to dream on. I think he's closer to maximized than an Eli Willits, but I also think that he has shown more impact in the present than an Eli Willits. But he's someone that currently playing shortstop. A lot of scouts and evaluators believe that he's better suited to play a second base or third base down the road, but I think he has the bat to profile and play well at those positions. So he's another guy that stands out to me.
So if you were to have to rank these three shortstops, not as Kareem Haq, but as the Cardinals, how would you stack up Ethan Holliday versus Eli Willits versus JoJo Parker? Again, as the Cardinals.
Yeah, this is a tough question. Uh,
Well, what you mean you're not talking to Flores day to day? I don't understand.
you know what? Let me just say how I feel first.
All right,
I think that out of those three, I think JoJo Parker would be my number one. Uh,
really?
I'd have Eli Willits two and Ethan Holiday three, but I think for the Cardinals, I think they'd have Ethan Holiday one. I think just the power potential. If he was to slip, we're talking about the number one ranked draft prospect. I think that with all with Matt Holiday being such a legend here, I
Yeah, I
think
was
there
going to say
has to be some
the
sort of
Holiday name would have to break the tie, right?
yeah. I mean, not just. I'm not. insinuating that it's some sort of nepotism kind of thing, but they have some sort of familiarity with Holliday and his family, which I think um, would probably have some sort of influence if I had to guess.
Yeah.
Uh,
And,
so
and and let's face it, the teams do a lot of due diligence to make sure that these guys aren't going to honor their college commitment, but they know, hey, it's going to take this much money to sign me if you pick me, Cardinals. So,
yeah,
we have to, it would be a very bad situation if the Cardinals chose a player in the first round, fifth overall, and he chose not to sign. That means they didn't do their due diligence up front because everybody knows how much money the Cardinals had. Everybody knows all that, and part of the work is not just scouting the player, but understanding their family, understanding their environment, and understanding what it's going to take to get them in house.
absolutely. I think that the performance is only uh, half the evaluation. A lot of it is what's the character of this person like? How is this person going to fit into my organization? Uh, you know, are they going to work hard to get to where they need to be? Stuff
Are
like
they a
that.
team? Are they a team guy or are they a me first guy?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's huge. I think that these teams are going to be weighing the interviews and the interview process and uh, w- how I don't know how to articulate this. Like just their character, I guess, and
Yeah.
what the teammates think of them and stuff like that. I would
And
say.
this is why, pardon me for interrupting, Kareem. This is why scouts are so important because the scouts spend the time. They're not just looking at film. They couldn't sit in a video room somewhere and learn about the character of a player. They have to go and talk to the player. They have to talk to his coaches, maybe even talk to some of his teammates or the people in his high school or in his school, whatever school it is. There's a lot more to scouting than just looking at a player's swing or at a pitcher's delivery or looking at his velo numbers or his spin rates. And folks don't really understand it. This is an important time of year, and the scouts are the backbone of what happens in these drafts.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more, Brian. I think that these teams value uh, that sort of stuff just about as much as what they're doing on the field. I think that's very important.
So we talked about six players. We talked about the left-handed pitchers, Anderson, Doyle, and Arnold. We talked about the shortstops, Holliday, Willits, and Parker. Anybody else that you think might come out of the woodwork that the Cardinals might take at number five? Because I'm going to remind you when we come back and talk about this after the draft. The guys you talked about, and either give you credit or say, "Wait a minute, how come the Cardinals took Ike Irish, and who the heck is he, and why didn't we talk about him before?"
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this class could go in a lot of different directions. I'm not feeling like 100% confident in oh, the Cardinals are going to pick one of these 3 4 players. Like I think there's a lot of different directions that they could go. But a couple other names that I'd want to touch on. Firstly, Oregon State shortstop Iva Arquette. I think he's pretty clearly the best college bat in this year's class. Uh, I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't think he'd stack up with a JJ Weatherholt or a Travis Bazzana or a Charlie Condon or a Jack Caglione from last year, but I think he would be a step down from that. But still, I think he's far and away the best college bat in this year's class. I think he's a early first round talent. What stands out to me the most about him is just the feel for the barrel. This is someone that has plus power. It's not just raw power. The exit velocities on balls it hit in the air, it's 100.5 miles an hour, which is top 10 in terms of Division One baseball. He has a great feel for loft, getting it out to his pull side. So we're looking at a potential plus power bat. And someone that has the potential to stick at shortstop. I thought that he looked smooth out there. I thought that defensively, this is someone that might be 6'4", 6'5", but I think that the actions are still up to par with a shortstop position. And even if he does have to slide over to a third base or a corner outfield, I think there's enough impact in there. Not sure the Cardinals would go in this direction,
Well, they
just due
did
to
a
the
year
fact that
they did a year ago, Kareem. I mean, they took the best high school or the best college bat, excuse me, as shortstop. In last year's draft, and Ivar Arquette, as you said, is generally considered, the best high school, the best college bat in this draft. And the fact that he plays shortstop is, of course, a plus.
Yeah, if the Cardinals go with a college bat, I think Iva Arquette's the only possible option. You can go ahead, clip that. We can go back on that. I just don't see another college bat that's viable at that five spot. I think Iva Arquette's the only college player that I could see the Cardinals selecting at that spot. Uh, but touching a little bit more on his profile, I think it's so the power potential is there. I think it's above average power, not just raw power. I think he gets into it in game. The bat to ball skills are close to average. I would say closer to fringe average. It's the contact rates are around average for Division One college baseball. There's nothing super glaring when we're looking at velocity or breaking stuff. I think that the hit tool will be around a 50. I would assume translating to the next level, which paired with the power potential that he has, I think that's serviceable. The approach is a bit more on the passive side. It's not it's not like he's overly aggressive inside the strike zone. It's a very patient approach. He's going to take a lot of pitches inside the zone, and the chase rate's only about average. So it's not the approach that you want to see, which I think the Cardinals, they have a big emphasis on approaches when looking into college bats, which is one of the reasons why I don't know if they'd be in love with Ivar Arquette. It's a below average pick. It's below average pitch recognition, and the approach is not at the level that it needs to be. So I think there's some red flags in there, but I think we're looking at a power bat that has the potential to stick at shortstop, if not enough impact to play a corner, whether it be corner infield or corner outfield. And he's solid athlete. And overall, I think he's my top ranked college bat in this year's class.
And he's, of course, talking about Ivar Arquette, the shortstop from Oregon State. So in this episode, you've heard seven different names of individuals who the Cardinals might take, or at least they would if Kareem Haq was sitting in the chair for Randy Flores on draft day. As Kareem mentioned, we're going to bring him back after the draft and have an edition with he and Kyle and I, hopefully. And I'm just going to stand back and let those two guys get excited about the picks that the Cardinals will be taking this upcoming draft, which isn't far away now. It's going to be, of course, the All-Star Weekend. That's coming up on the was it the 12th and no 13th and 14th of July, I believe, is it. The draft's going to be done in 2 days rather than three in the past, and so as Kareem mentioned, those four picks in the first day, all above number 90, are going to be a very exciting time for the Cardinals. And Kareem, as I mentioned, Birds on the Farm podcast, a regular, and cardinalsprospects.com. You can see his work there. I'm sure you'll continue to refine your list and your thoughts about the draft in the 3 weeks or so left between now and then. Any closing remarks, Kareem?
No, Brian, it was great to be on again. Looking forward to having Kyle back on next week, and really excited to be on with both of you guys talking about hopefully exciting draft class for the Cardinals.
Exactly. And the regular news, swing by the Cardinal Nation, catch our daily team reports and minor league recaps. I provided my update of the top 50 prospect lists last weekend, so take a look at that. You'll see risers, especially guys like Joshua Baez, who, of course, was named the Texas League Player of the Week, along with his teammate Tank Hence, Pitcher of the Week. And then Memphis Redbirds also swept the International League top player and pitcher with Quinn Matthews and Jose Fermin. And that's the first time I can remember, and I've been doing this for a long time, as you can see by the gray hair here, that the Cardinals swept both awards, both league awards at the AAA and AA level in the same week. So it's an encouraging time as the schedules now have flipped over from the first half to the second half. And folks may know that Springfield won their division in the first half, so they have an automatic playoff berth. And now the other clubs reset with a chance here in the second half, maybe with different rosters than they had. Certainly they will post-draft in the A levels, with different players. They start out the year and a chance to put together a good first half and get in the playoffs. Because as much as it's about player development, you're also trying to build players that can play winning baseball. And so, the Cardinals certainly take pride at having that success as well. So with that, we'll close our pre-draft issue, and we'll come back with at least one more discussion after the draft, talk about the players taken. But we'll also then, after the draft, look at how these players are going to slot into our top 50s, and there'll be some interesting discussion about that, I'm sure, as well. So make sure you check back with us each week here at Wednesday with Walton, and next week, excuse me, as I said, Kyle Reese will be back. But in the meantime, thanks again to Kareem Haq for participating the last couple weeks, and we'll see you again in the future.